The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to K4Wins, along with the Coastal Digital Sports Network on Tony Kurre Radio. We got the four of us together. Keefer below me, of course, Executive Director. He runs the show at the Birmingham Racecourse Casino here in Birmingham. Of course, you can hear him all over the terrestrial and internet radio stations, as well as Need to Know and Keefer and Kurre on my own radio station, two of our highest rated shows. We have Gregory next to him. Of course, he has been playing both sides of the ledger now for nearly 4 decades, knows everything about the numbers and handicapping, and we have to have a pro on, right? He is the chief editor. You're the owner. You're the chief. What other chief you are?
You own the place now?
He owns the Las Vegas Sun is what he does. He owns the Las Vegas Sun. He's opening a casino called Case's Las Vegas Sun. It should be opening on the Strip in 2031. We're looking forward to that. He does such fantastic work, does some great editing, and of course writes some great blogs and great stuff in Las Vegas Sun, and we love having him on. He's our cornerstone for the show. We are set for Super Bowl 60, man, and I've been doing prep ever since this morning. The birds chirping at 3 degrees outside, cold as hell outside, wanting their seed, and I've been getting after it. This is the first time in NFL history that both coaches and both starting quarterbacks are in years 1 or 2 in their teams, which is amazing. And I want to start right off the bat. We're going to go around the horn right now. You get to pick the quarterback you want for Super Bowl 60, Kai. Who you taking, Drake May or Sam Darnold, and why?
When you mentioned that, I went and looked at the stats. And first, the thing that pops first is Drake May, in my opinion, makes fewer mistakes, or at least has this year. Although he's had some blunders in the playoffs I thought were crazy. He's got, about 300 more passing yards. His percentage completion is 72% to Sam Darnold 67. I mean, I could rattle off the stats. Right now, even as crazy as it sounds, I would rather have Drake May, even though Sam Darnold is clearly a winner. 14-3 last year in Minnesota, came over to the same thing regular season in Seattle. So it's hard to go against them. But if I'm catching 4.5 points, I'll take Drake May.
Sam Darnold and Tom Brady, the only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to go back-to-back 14-win seasons. Keefer, who would you take right now, Sam Darnold or Drake May?
Well, I stepped out on a shaky limb before the season. I was in only one. I used to be in 4 or 5 fantasy football leagues. I'm only in 1 these days. Drake May was my quarterback draft choice in about the 4th round, right when people start picking quarterbacks. And I picked him over a lot of established guys because I thought he was going to have a monster year. I'm in the Drake May camp. Although Darnold, like Kai just said, the guy's a winner. I mean, 28 regular season wins in the last 2 years. 14-3 wasn't good enough for the Vikings. How did that work out?
Yeah, Drake May led the league this year with a QBR of a 77.1. He was the best quarterback in that area. Case, you're a man who's all about numbers. Who would you be taking in Super Bowl 60 if you had your druthers based on what you got around you, Drake May or Sam Darnold?
Well, I'll preface this by saying it pains me to say it's very definitive to me because I'm a big Sam Darnold guy. I thought the Raiders should have signed him last offseason. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought he was a great signing for the Seahawks. That being said, you take away what's around them and you're just giving me one quarterback. I mean, I don't think people realize Drake May, and a lot does have to do with the schedule. Drake May was incredible this year. I mean, if I had an MVP vote, I would be voting for Drake May. I don't think he's going to win. It's going to be Matthew Stafford. So take away all the surroundings, and this might look stupid in a couple weeks because I do think the Seahawks should be a big favorite in the game. I think they have the much better roster, but I think as a quarterback, Drake May is at another level, at least in my mind, than Sam Darnold.
Sam, 25 touchdowns, 14 picks, nothing special, 99.1 QBR, 66.7%. Drake May, 31 touchdowns, 8 picks, had a 113 QBR, 72% of the time he completed his passes. The thing about Sam, and it's interesting, I was doing some splits earlier today, not on the floor, but actually with my stats. Weeks 1 through 9, Sam, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks, and only 9 sacks. In weeks 10 through 18, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 18 sacks. He has not been protected. And I will say this, and one of the reasons that people are like, well, how in the world is Sam Darnold winning 14 games in Minnesota, then getting traded? it's all about defenses. A lot of people are saying the Sam's winning a lot of games because their defense, and that's part of the game. I certainly understand that. He's making $37 million this year. He's got a $100 million deal. They're saying he's got to go back and restructure that. But again, I'm trying to think of some of these quarterbacks that they're on teams with great defenses. And obviously you don't have to have wonderful numbers in order to win 28 games. It's crazy to say that. But Sam Darnold, and he's also got that oblique injury that I think is going to be playing on this. Talk about a guy who needs a little rest. We were talking about bye situations and stuff, and certainly in the SEC and college football, it's a little different because you're talking about taking weeks off as opposed to just 2. But Sam with the oblique injury, and now with one of his best running backs, Zach Charbonnet, out with the injury as well. I think that's going to hinder him a little bit. So this should be interesting. Was there anything? And I know you guys like to look at the numbers, and we've been doing this now for 18, 19 weeks. Anything in particular about the Seahawks or the Pats case that a lot of people don't know about that kind of sticks out to you that may be a defining factor on whether they win or lose Super Bowl 60?
Well, maybe not win or lose, but you hit on one that I think was subtraction by addition. I mean, coaches do this all the time, and it drives people that are more numbers-based like me crazy. But Kenneth Walker has been like 10 times better than Zach Charbonnet, and they insist on getting Charbonnet so involved. I get you would rather have Charbonnet healthy because he's a great short distance guy. He's physical. Obviously, they give him the ball at the goal line, but I think it's a positive that without him, they have to give Walker the ball more because Walker's just so much more explosive, so much more efficient. So I don't think they missed Charbonnet at all. He has, I mean, like I said, he should have a role carved out. He should just be their short yardage guy. But it just seems like that to me, sometimes they're too insistent on getting him involved. When if I'm the Seahawks, I want Walker and Jackson Smith and Jigba over and over as much as possible.
It's going to be interesting because, as we look deeper and deeper numbers, and Kai, I know that you probably could own Spectrum as often as you're on whatever, or AT&T, whatever it is, because I know you need internet. What is there any particular stat? Because you're good at finding little nuggets like this. You always give me shit about my little nuggets. You find nuggets as too. But is there anything in particular that you found interesting about Seattle or the Pats that may be something that kind of makes you lean one way or another that we don't know about?
Not really yet, because I just haven't jumped in to the game enough. I did find it interesting. I think the line's a little bit low. Seattle's a 4.5-point favorite, but they're 3 in the first half and half a point for the first quarter. But I already jumped. I don't know why, and people might think I'm crazy. I love the over 7.5 in the first quarter of that game. I've already played that. I've already played the game. I'm going to differ a little bit from a case. I got it at 5 and went ahead and played New England +5 early on.
Kid, give me a little nugget you've been looking at. You've been following them all year long. Is there one particular thing, maybe about the quarterback, about the coach, about whatever, that you're thinking this is going to be my deciding factor here to take this team at Super Bowl 60?
Well, I echo what Case said, because I've been on the Kenneth Walker train for a while, and I think you really saw a showcase in that game on Sunday night of just what he can do. This is a speed guy, but he's a bitch to get on the ground. I mean, it's unbelievable. You usually get that kind of big, tough, physical running back, but they usually don't have the burst of speed that he has. I mean, he can be a complete package, and I just think he makes them a lot more dynamic being the feature back. Again, he was always the starter, and he is the primary guy, but I've known this guy, and he had some injury problems the last couple of years, but looked pretty healthy the other day running against the Rams. And let me say this, I picked Seattle in that game because I thought Seattle's defense had a step up, but I'm not so sure the best team won that game, because the Rams, they impressed me so much in these playoffs. Going to Philadelphia, getting rid of them, that win in Chicago was just incredible, with all the swings and the conditions and everything else. For the Surfer Boys from LA to go into Chicago and come out with that win, that is, to me, one of the great feats of the season. I kind of feel bad for them and Matt Stafford, because I thought the game was there for the taking. But with all that being said, Seattle's defense is so good and so physical. And the Patriots are young and a team that, it's kind of shocking they're there. But we've talked about all season, the AFC was such a wide open kind of crapshoot. And if Bo Nix doesn't go down, I don't think the Patriots are in this game. I think Jared Stidham was, I guess what I kind of expected him to be. So I just think the Seahawks have a big edge, but it's interesting. And I wonder, I want to get Kai's reaction real quick. Kai, it's got to make you proud as a Titans fan that your team fired Mike Vrabel.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the most genius moves I've ever seen. The only person that can make a dumber move than this is probably Jerry Jones, because, I mean, let's face it, he's an idiot.
Yeah, don't leave Arthur Blank out either. Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Reese, his new staff in Atlanta.
What about that? There's that graphic that the Falcons, their last coach opening, their 3 interviews back to back were Mike McDonald, Mike Vrabel, and Raheem Morris.
Yeah, ouch.
Wow. The Titans have got to be kicking themselves. And I understand owner, management, Vrabel didn't get along. I personally think that Vrabel was more hardcore maybe than the Titans wanted. And you could see it. If you go back and you look year 1, year 2, year 3 in Tennessee and his demeanor on the sidelines versus his demeanor on the sidelines in New England, I think it's just totally different. I think he's been given a freedom in New England that he never had in Tennessee to be the kind of coach that he wants to be. Tennessee should be kicking themselves.
There's a freedom when it comes with 14 wins in a season too, and they're coming off a 4-13 season. I know, yeah, 4 coming from 4-13 and going to 14-3, which is unbelievable.
And that's the reason why I think they could win the Super Bowl is because of him.
I got this feeling, and having followed the Titans a lot, and I've been up there for 3 ball games to watch the Bengals play. I got this feeling that Vrabel is a hell of a coach, and he's going to win a Super Bowl. But that just became a point where his assistants weren't getting it done. I know his offensive coordinator had a DUI that everyone wanted. They wanted him fired. They weren't using Henry, where they needed to use him. But it just got to the point where they were trying to win games with defenses that didn't have it, and they were really banged up the last 3 years. I mean, it seemed like they had so many stinking injuries on Tennessee Titans. Every time I went up there, half the team was on IL. So, all right,
didn't use him right either, just for the record.
No doubt. They use him, and then for a quarter and a half, where is he? And it's like, dude, I mean, the guy would rip one off for 35 yards, and all of a sudden they wouldn't use him for a quarter and a half. Drake May, the 5th quarterback to win and go to a Super Bowl in only his 2nd season. Name the other 4 guys.
Marino was one because Marino was the youngest ever.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson was one. Marino was not.
Russell's the only one that jumps off the top of my head, to be honest.
Let's go Kurt Warner with the Rams. Let's go Tom Brady with New England his 2nd year. And Ben Roethlisberger did it with Pittsburgh in his 2nd season.
Huh.
I would have thought that would have been one of those ones that you guys would have been all over. Man.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad I didn't. Brady and Roethlisberger should have been obvious. Who was the 4th one?
The 4th one, Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Kurt Warner. And what great company to be in, huh? I mean,
yeah, I thought Warner was a little bit later in his career, even though I know the theme story behind it. I never would have got that one, but I should have got 3.
And Marino,
it was after he bagged your groceries.
Yeah, right. Marino was the youngest I know, but yeah.
Something to keep in mind: the last 5 Super Bowls, underdogs are 5-0 against the spread.
If you like what Case and Kip just said, then you got to be liking Kenneth Walker III at 6-1 odds for MVP.
I like that.
But I mean, the fact that the last 5 Super Bowls, the underdog is 5-0 against the spread. They are 4-1 outright in Super Bowls. So everything's kind of pointing towards that Pat situation. Should be very, very good. And I think something else too that's really interesting. You talk about the Seahawks and as great their defense is, and how Sam Darnold's pulling off 28 wins. He has been responsible for 20 turnovers this year. No one's given the ball away. Minnesota turned the ball over. They were the only team that turned the ball over more than the Seattle Seahawks. They turned the ball over 28 times. The Seahawks have a propensity for turning the football over, and there's a team called the Pats who love playing takeaway. So that may be one of those things. But when you talk about 28 turnovers in a season, that's a lot of turnovers for anyone making it to a Super Bowl. So it should be really, really interesting to see how that plays out. We're going to get into some college hoop. Duke had a really interesting game against Louisville. Last night was unbelievable. We have Deion Sanders being talked about perhaps going to the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if that's going to have Mike McCarthy now as the head coach at Pittsburgh. So all kinds of different news to get into. And of course, we have a Super Bowl we're going to get into here, Super Bowl 60 coming up here. That's going to be in Santa Clara coming up here on February 8th. It seems like it's so far away. By the way, since we do a gambling show, Seahawks and the Rams Seahawks and Pats both 12-5 against the spread. Of course, the Seahawks have covered their last two, so they're 14-5. The Pats 14-6. They played the extra game against the spread, but so both of these teams are getting it done against the number. The other thing is, I think it's really interesting, is when you're talking about coaching, and obviously, I don't know, a lot of people even knew who the head coach at Seattle was, and Michael McDonald. Where do you put? And I texted you before the show started because I know you've been following Vrabel for a long time, and I like him. We used to have him on our radio show all the time because he's best friends with Aldo Greco. Super nice guy. He's just a football guy. He looks like a football guy. He is a football guy. But where do you give the advantages as far as in head coaching goes between these two? Mike did a great job of going and get free agency. He's turned his team obviously around. He is the blueprint of how to turn around a 4-13 team to a 14-3 team. But as far as in giving the edge when it comes to head coaching, what coach do you like, Case?
Might be controversial, but it's a push to me. I have the utmost respect for both guys. They're kind of different in that. I mean, Vrabel's actually done some really good things where he finds, like, I can't remember the examples now, but there's been a few over the years where he finds like weird things in the rule books and exploits them. But in general, I would say McDonald's a little bit better game day guy, I think. But Vrabel's kind of I hate using the cliche, but master motivator. He's always going to be so well organized, have the culture on point. But I think probably schematically in game day. I mean, you talk to people in the NFL about Mike McDonald's defensive brain. There's few, even before what he did this year. There's few guys that are more respected than what he knows defense wise schematically. So I think he has an advantage in another area. I wouldn't really give a big edge either way.
Kip, you're nodding your head a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, Mike McDonald, I can fill in some blanks for folks because there's some definite SEC storylines here, which I like to harp on. Mike McDonald is from Roswell, Georgia. He played for Centennial High School and was teammates with a high school friend of mine's son. So when he got the job as the defensive coordinator for the Ravens a couple of years ago, that was a big topic of conversation in our circles. And so I've been aware of him for a couple of years. He also is a University of Georgia graduate. Mark Richt gave him his first job in 2010 as a graduate assistant. So that's where he got his start. He's only 38 years old. I don't know if folks realize how young this guy is. He's just done a phenomenal job. But I'll ask real quick because I think I asked you yesterday on our podcast, Case, what was the first move McDonald made last year when hired by the Seattle Seahawks?
I don't know, but I'm definitely pulling for New England and graduated from Georgia.
Yeah,
he hired Ryan
Grubb. Ryan Grubb was his first acquisition, taking him away from the Crimson Tide, who he had already made a speech that week to the Tuscaloosa Touchdown Club, how excited he was to be in Tuscaloosa and be with Alabama. On Friday, he signed with new coach Mike McDonald and the Seahawks. But also, the first thing that Mike McDonald did at the end of last season was fire Ryan Grubb, who came back to Tuscaloosa. So
he's a mover and a shaker for sure.
So Alabama fans, take heart. Your guy Ryan Grubb is the big change that was made from last year's 10-win team to this year's 14 or I guess 13 or 14, I guess 14-win team that's in the Super Bowl. So just enjoy that useless information for a moment.
Guy, I'd ask you what coach you're going with, but I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. I know you're going to be going with Mike Vrabel. Do you want to have anything to add to that? Because
I'll bet on New England or whatever. Maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. I mean, the lines are moving. Maybe get some closing value, but I don't like either team, and now I don't like either coach. Really, I loved Vrabel in Tennessee, but I hate the Patriots. I've hated the Patriots my whole life, which is strange because I'm such a huge Red Sox fan, and I'm a Bruins fan, and I'm a Celtics fan, even though my youngest is a Golden State fan. So the only team I hate is New England. But that's because I'm a Tennessee fan and I love Peyton Manning, and I hope Tom Brady, falls off a plane.
What was there to hate earlier in your life, though? They sucked for like 30 years, didn't they?
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I know. I mean, it is what it is.
First time in 50 years, too, that both quarterbacks did not have a playoff win going into this season. Neither guy had a playoff win going into the Super Bowl, so both the guys won. There's only one other thing to it, and again, I've been going at it since 6:00 this morning. I could go all day. The one thing that we brought, the one thing we brought up, yeah, really, and I can't wait to get Case's thought on this because this is what he does. This is the third easiest schedule in NFL history since 1978 for the New England Patriots. Their opponent's winning record was 438. That was something that people put their fingers on all season long, but really no one's talking about. I haven't heard a lot of talking about. Everyone talking about the easy schedule. Kip, you're a schedule guy. You've always said, man, look at the schedule they're playing. And certainly in college football, you could make that argument with the cream puffs some of these teams play. But when you're talking about the Patriots and what they've gotten done this year, I'm not going to check anything out of a 14-win season, but they look at the schedule, look who they played. How does that play into you gambling on this game and putting something down on the line there?
Real quick, don't forget New England's first game of the year. They lost one of their most rigid tests to the Las Vegas Raiders at home.
They sure did. Indiana
had a weak schedule also.
Yeah, until the end of the season when they knocked off 5 top 10 teams. True. But right now, New England's got to win big games against big teams. And you can even say their run to the playoffs hasn't been as difficult as it probably could have been. What are your thoughts on that? Case?
Sorry. I thought you were talking to Kip. I've been beating the drum on this. I really do think it's a factor that, you look at the quality of competition. I thought it would catch up to them in the playoffs, but I feel like they've had I feel like they've kind of gotten a good draw in the playoffs too. All year, if you've watched the show, I was against the Chargers, and not because I am against, and by the way, an aside, I think I am going to be all over the Chargers next year. I can't believe what they did this year with just more injuries than anyone aside from the 49ers, no offensive line. Now they've got Mike McDaniel, coming in as OC, the line will be back.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm going to be all over the Chargers next year. But so they get the Chargers team that, was playing a bunch of practice squad guys for the whole second half of the year. They don't look very impressive offensively there. Then they get the Texans who turned the ball over, 4 times? And
four interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, they had a bunch of fumbles. And then Kip mentioned that he thinks the wrong team might have won the NFC game. I honestly think the wrong team probably won the AFC game. I think the Broncos were a little bit better than them. Obviously, the elements just got insane in the second half. Luckily, we cashed that bet. I think we were all on the Broncos. I had Denver +6. I also had the Rams +3 in another game, which didn't come through. But if you play those 2 games again tomorrow, I'm making the same bet. So I feel like there's been some and look, the NFL's so close. This is what you do. You win the close games and you try to get the right breaks in the playoffs and make the Super Bowl. So I don't hold anything against them, but I do think the Patriots have kind of gotten the benefit of the draw, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs now, whereas I feel like the Seahawks are way more battle-tested, and I'm way more confident the Seahawks are a great team regardless of what happens in the Super Bowl. Whereas the Patriots, I'm honestly still not 100% sure, as I just feel like they've had so much go their way all year.
Yeah, it looks like I'm going to own the legend 50 spot. We're going back and forth on our spots. He gave me the Rams plus the 2.5, and I liked them too. I thought they had a good shot at winning that game, and he's been having Stafford's had just a fantastic year. I want to get around the league a little bit more. And certainly, we're going to be talking Super Bowl. We're going to like 2 or 3 more shows before the Super Bowl kicks off on February 8th in Santa Clara. But I do want to throw in some other different news and just get your thoughts on these things because we got 4 guys that love talking football. Your thoughts on Mike McCarthy, Kip, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that McCarthy and, of course, this guy named Aaron Rodgers, they've already won a Super Bowl together. A lot of people are trying to marry them together. Perhaps inside they don't want to be married. I don't think they hired Mike McCarthy because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, but it may make him stick around a little bit. What's your thoughts on that for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Only their 4th change in a head coaching league since the 60s.
Well, it's a team that's historically had very few head coaches. Tomlin just finished a 19-year tenure there. Chuck Noll was there forever. A lot of their other Cowher, of course, had a long stint. So, it really shocked me. I thought McCarthy was probably on the shelf, but the recycling of coaches in the NFL just continues to be the trend. And I don't know what he said to the Rooneys in those interviews or how he convinced them that he was the guy, because I thought he was just a miserable failure in Dallas. And I just don't understand the recycling of and we got too many Macs, and there's so so many coaches. McDaniel, McCarthy, McDonald. I mean, it's so confusing anyway. I was glad to get one of the Macs out of the lineup, but I was shocked. I had just seen a report earlier that day that, once again, back to Alabama, that Kalen DeBoer was being considered for Pittsburgh. I think Trump's considering him for a cabinet post. His name is in every job, description in the country. And about 15 minutes later, I saw they had hired Mike McCarthy, which revealed that to be fake news about DeBoer. But the bottom line is, I want somebody to explain this hire to me, because Pittsburgh, an organization that usually kind of goes their own way and doesn't do trendy things like bring back, old washed up coaches. And if it's for the Aaron Rodgers, I hear a lot of people saying that. Well, he was successful with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be able to convince him to come back for another year. Do they really want Aaron Rodgers for another year? I mean, I don't think he was that much of a juggernaut last year. He managed things pretty well and got them in position where, they had a successful season. But is there really this burning desire to get Aaron Rodgers back to justify hiring Mike McCarthy, who I don't remember them being exactly, love struck for each other in Green Bay?
Yeah, they weren't. It's interesting too, because you bring up a great point. There's only been 4 head coaches now since the 60s. Mike McCarthy's 62 years old.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a young guy here. So
go to the house, Mike. Good grief.
Yeah, even if he has success. I mean, say 65, 66, 67, he goes to a Super Bowl, maybe doesn't win, and next thing you know, he's wanting to hang it up, and they're going to switch, after you just had a guy for 19 years. Case, what's your thoughts on this hire? And it almost feels like if this team had like a 3rd or 4th year quarterback, or had a Drake May, and had a returning defense that was going to be unbelievable, and you're just looking for a piece, a guy that's been there, done that, and a guy that can just kind of like transformatively look at his players and say, listen, win your box, do what you need to do. That would be Mike McCarthy. He's won a Super Bowl. But for a team like this, it needs to grow a little bit, change in the offseason, perhaps, particularly in free agency, and then you don't know if you have a quarterback. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with Kip. I think this was a baffling hire. Definitely not a guy I would ever want at this stage. I know the Steelers fans were chanting to fire Tomlin and wanted to get rid of him for so long. I think they're going to be I think they're going to be eating their words this year. I think they're probably going to have their first losing season in 20 years. I don't get wanting to lure Rodgers back. I will say, and I'm not a Mike McCarthy guy, I just eviscerated the hire. I do think, I guess the one thing I'm a little softer on than Kip is I don't think it was a complete failure, him in Dallas. Now, in the playoffs, it was a complete failure. They got blown out like every time, but I think they might have had all winning seasons, or they were very good in the regular season. I don't think maybe his reputation is even worse than his actual results. I could get behind that, but I still just don't get, getting by. And maybe there's a lot going on with Tomlin off the field if you followed those rumors, so maybe they were forced into a corner. I also think the big thing is all the reporting, when the job became open, was this is Chris Shula's. They're going to get another young defensive guy. And then if you followed the news, supposedly, well, we've heard it both ways now. First, there were reports that Chris Shula just bombed the interview, was terrible, and they felt like they had to go another direction. Since then, now a bunch of people have come out and said, no, that's not true. Chris Shula, that's not at all what happened, blah, blah, blah. I know this is kind of probably a little inside baseball, just because I'm in the industry, so I know some of these people. I will tell you that the people saying it's not true and have heard differently are very close to the Rams organization and have Rams sources. So I think that's more the Rams playing up their guy. I think there's definitely something to, I don't know what happened, but I think there's something to Chris Shula not having blown away the Steelers brass. And then they were kind of left scrambling and landed on McCarthy, which I think this happens a lot when you kind of zero in on one guy and it doesn't go your way. Like the Raiders last year wanted Ben Johnson so bad, and when they didn't get him, they go, okay, I guess we'll just hire Pete Carroll. You saw how that happened. I saw how that played out. I wouldn't be surprised that this kind of feels similar for McCarthy. I wouldn't be surprised if it's also a failure.
Well, who are the Raiders going to get?
I mean, at this time yesterday, I would say Clint Kubiak for sure. I think that's what they were waiting for. A lot of people linked to how much Tom Brady was drooling on him over the broadcast, but there's been some reports in the last day that maybe he's going to take the Ben Johnson route and that Seattle is going to make him the highest paid coordinator, and he's going to wait out this coaching cycle. So if it's not him, it's going to be Davis Webb, who the Broncos passing game coordinator. But the problem with him is he's also like a finalist for the Bills job. So if he gets both the offers, it's going to be I think he'd take the Bills. But yeah, Kubiak and Webb are still the favorites. It's Kubiak's if he wants it, but now the question is, does he just want to stay in Seattle another year?
Yeah, I heard Odensky, the Jacksonville offensive coordinator, told the Browns thanks but no thanks yesterday, and he's going to stay at Jacksonville, but with the agreement that if the Bills offer him the job, they're going to allow him to leave. So a lot of maneuvering going on. Offensive coordinators seem to be really the premier model that everybody wants on their show floor now.
Yet defenses win championships. Look at the two teams in the Super Bowl. I wanted to ask you too, Kai, about the McCarthy hire, and then I'm going to piggyback that with the second part of the question. Deion Sanders, everyone's talking about a shot. I know they want to marry the quarterback situation there, of course, for Shedeur Sanders. And Cleveland, I heard Stephen A. Smith a few minutes ago say something. He kind of refuted himself. He said that he thinks Deion Sanders would do great with the Cleveland Browns, but he doesn't deserve the shot. He's had 2-3 seasons with Colorado, one winning season. The other two were just an abomination. He said, I think he'd do great, but I don't think that he deserves a shot in the National Football League. Your thoughts on McCarthy first, and talk about Deion Sanders. What do you think he'd make with the Browns or even in the National Football League?
I would just piggyback 1,000% on what Kip said. I think, but I think it's not necessarily Mike McCarthy's total fault as much as it is Jerry Jones' fault. I think he did horribly in Dallas. I don't think any coach is going to have success in Dallas until Jerry Jones sells the team. Just my opinion. He's way too involved. He reminds me a lot of Mark Cuban, even though Mark Cuban won the one championship with Dallas. In the last 15 years, really, or 10 years, Cuban's kind of, stepped back or did in that role. I just think Jerry's too involved, and his ego gets in his team's way, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be successful in Pittsburgh. I put the over under at 2.5 seasons. I think they're looking for somebody by 29. Best case, probably in Pitt. I think Aaron Rodgers would be a horrendous bring back. I will agree with Stephen A. Smith. I don't think I've ever said those words. That Deion has not earned it. But oh my God, what's his name? Phillip Rivers interviewed for a job. Good Lord, talk about hasn't earned it. Yeah. And took himself out of consideration.
He's a private school, high school coach.
Yeah.
Good grief.
I think it would be. I don't know if you can do this. I think it would probably ruin the Cleveland Browns organization, more than it is. And maybe the over-under's at 4.5 games. He's done nothing. He's not a great coach. People in Colorado talk about how absent he is. He doesn't talk to kids. Now I know a couple of kids that are in that, let's just be honest, organization now. And I'm interested to see from them. But I think it would be a horrible hire, just like all these people that are saying, y'all were wrong about Shedeur Sanders. He's going to the Pro Bowl. Well, he's like the 97th quarterback selected for the flag football Pro Bowl that nobody watches.
It's what a horrendous idea that is. Let me say this too about Deion. Deion is I don't think people really grasp how many health problems he's dealing with. I mean, this guy is, it's amazing that he's even been able to be Colorado's coach the last couple of years with the major issues that he has, both from a physical and a internal standpoint. He's had most of his toes removed. He has trouble walking from circulatory problems, blood clots constantly. He's had major surgery for cancer treatment, I believe, to his spleen. But the bottom line is Deion Sanders is not a healthy individual and is really struggling just to stay alive right now.
He plays.
Let Shedeur be his own man. Get away from what everybody's going to say if you go there, daddy ball. That's the only reason why your kid is the starting quarterback. Whether it's true or not, that's what's going to be said. But eventually, you've got to get away and separate and let your kid become his own man.
It's a fun talking point, but there's absolutely zero chance he's going to be the Browns coach. They haven't even interviewed him. I mean, they've interviewed like 15 people. People have pulled themselves out. I don't know if this is his agent pushing this. I hadn't even heard this idea until you guys brought it up.
Yeah, I heard it.
Maybe I ate my words. There's no chance he's there.
It's sexy, and we've seen Stranger Things. I mean, I didn't think Bill Belichick would be ever coaching college football either. So
he really isn't. He's there.
Yeah,
But
it's been a quiet off season for North Carolina, by the way. I will say this. I think Deion Sanders plays a mean-ass pigeon. I think he's great on those DirecTV commercials. He's just,
well,
whenever I think of a pigeon, I think of a voice. It's
I
Deion
think he
Sanders.
was good in those. The Aflac commercials, I can't. I have to scramble to hear Nick Saban goes, "He entered the commissioner." How degrading for Nick Saban! I can't believe a guy with gazillions of dollars sells out and is involved in.
He's making more with Aflac than he made his
What an
entire tenure at
embarrassing!
Alabama. He's getting paid over $100 million to do this Aflac.
What an embarrassing!
He'll say whatever he wants. Yeah.
Tony, I want to jump in here and switch gears on you real quick, just because it's 37 minutes in, and I got to get the hockey experts' picks. I just wanted to throw something new in the middle, and you can't look. You got to just give me your picks, just like this. I'm going to go Case. Nope, I'm going to go Kip first. We're going to go with age. Just going to go one game. Tony and I are going to not say anything because, well, we both suck at hockey, and y'all don't. So Buffalo at Toronto tonight. Toronto's lost 4 in a row. Who do you got, Kip? Buffalo or Toronto minus the 15?
Buffalo hasn't lost since like Thanksgiving, and they're a very good team, and they're getting better all the time. But it's got to end sometime. Toronto's got to be getting a little desperate. This is the kind of spot where everybody else says, well, Buffalo's red hot, Toronto sucks. I'm going the other way tonight. I'm picking the upset. I like the Leafs in the Garden to slow down the Sabres, who I've been picking against for about their last 3 games. The do theory for me, I'll take Toronto, and they're a dog.
Chase?
I didn't bet this game, but I'd probably lean Toronto. Although I will say that the sharper sports books have taken money on Buffalo. It's now basically a pick 'em. But if I had to take a side, it's Toronto, but not a game I've bet.
Winnipeg, New Jersey, Kip. New Jersey's minus 25.
That's just a crap game. Both teams pretty much suck. Winnipeg's at New Jersey. I thought the Devils were going to put it together this year and have a decent season. I'll go New Jersey just because they're at home, and I just don't think this Winnipeg team is very good. After 2 really good seasons, they've declined appreciably.
Yeah, both teams are kind of have definitely underachieved. I think they're better than their underlying metrics. It kind of scares me. New Jersey's first game home from a long West Coast swing. Usually you dock a percentage point or so of win probability on that. That being said, I just trust their offense a little bit more. The Jets really struggle to score, so I'll go with the Devils.
All right, Kip, your Vegas Knights, Montreal.
Case's
your boy's
brother,
there, right? Your boy's there, isn't he?
Case's brother, my younger son, Clay, when I made the trek to Canada, it was minus 9 degrees when he was riding the train on Sunday from Montreal to Ottawa to watch the Golden Knights lose 7-1 to the Senators. So needless to say, Clay Dudalis is a guy that doesn't necessarily have the most bubbling attitude all the time, was a little downcast. I think the Golden Knights certainly were humiliated and embarrassed in Ottawa on Sunday. I think they'll come out and play a much better game tonight against the Canadians, who surprisingly, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but just my perception is the Canadians are a better team on the road than they are at home. I don't know if they feel pressure at the Bell Center. I don't know what it is. I think the Golden Knights bounce back tonight and get a win. I think Aiden Hill, back from his injury, has not looked very good. And they just made a big trade, trading their best defensive defenseman, White Cloud, to get an offensive defenseman from the Flames. I don't know if that was a very good move. I don't think defensively the Golden Knights are anything near what they've been in previous years. But I am going to go with them tonight to not let Clayton down 2 games in a row in Canada.
I make this literally right where it is, so I'm not even close to a bet on either side. That being said, I mean, Vegas has a much better team. They have major goaltending problems. I mean, in all the goaltending metrics, they're like second to last or third to last in the league. They got to get that solved. The thing that scares me is all these teams have played like a bazillion games because they're trying to shove in all these games before the Olympics. Vegas, one of the older teams in the league. Montreal, one of the younger teams in the league. So certainly that the fresh legs worry me a little bit if I was in Montreal wise. But losing 7-1, I feel like Vegas has to be a little bit locked in. Again, I don't see any way I bet this game. It's right where I make it. But if I had to pick a winner, I'd ever so slightly lean to the Vegas side.
I would have gone over 6.5 just because of what you just said in the games and I think. But all right, Utah and Florida. By the way, Kip, Montreal's 14-11-1 at home. Utah, Florida tonight. Florida minus 55, one of the higher ones.
Utah got shut out last night in Tampa. They'll go into Florida kind of in that same mentality. That swing to Florida when teams do the back-to-back every time with the Lightning and the Panthers, or vice versa, Panthers and Lightning, doesn't seem to fare well for most of those road teams, but especially from the West. I don't see Utah rising up and winning this game. The Panthers are starting to get it together a little bit. I said that last week, and that didn't work out too good when they went to Carolina and lost 9-1. But that's one of those things. They're still the two-time defending champions. There's no way I could bet the Mammoth, the worst nickname in sports, at Florida tonight.
This might have been my favorite bet of the day, at least last night, but it's moved a ton, which is no surprise. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You just look at the market. Money comes in on Utah like every single day, as it should. I think this team is extremely underrated. Very good. It's hard for me to now say bet it at plus 130. I bet Utah plus 150. I just think, with Florida still with their injury situations with so many, they did have Marshawn back, but they still got a bunch of their guys missing. I just feel like these teams are pretty even. Now you got to dock Utah a lot for playing back to back, and Vitek Vanacek is probably going to be starting instead. That they've had Kurre Vejmelka, probably not saying his name right, but just unbelievable goalie. He played last night. I'd be really surprised if they forced him into a back-to-back, especially when he's played like the last 6 games. So at this point, I would wait till you get the Vanacek confirmation, and then the people that are betting big are probably going to bet on Florida, and this number will go back up. I don't think it's ever getting to plus 150 where I bet Utah, but it's still you can't lay this big of a price with Florida against another really good team. So Utah for me, even though they probably lose, I just think you make you only have to hit, you don't have to hit your bet that often if you're getting plus 150, or like I said, when Vanacek gets back in, I think this will be a 140, 145 range maybe again. Definitely Utah for me.
All right, we're going to go through these quickly. No, we're not going to have we don't have time to give analysis, so we're just going to get the pick. And we're going to start with we're going to go back to Kip, even though Case is the enforcer on a beer league team we see from Joey there. All right, the Kings and the Red Wings. Kip?
Detroit.
Okay. I guess Detroit.
Nashville, Boston. Boston on a back-to-back here, Kip.
After they just pissed away the game last night, pardon my French. So disgusting. Get the lead, and you're seeing so many ties in the AHL now because teams think they can just run the clock out. So that's analysis, but that was a terrible loss last night. The Predators are horrible. Boston's going to come back home and own them tonight.
I know Korpisalo's been better, but I'm betting against the Bruins a lot when Korpisalo's starting as he was last night. Even though they're on a back-to-back with Swayman in it tonight, and there's been money to come in against them, but I like the Bruins.
Chicago, Minnesota.
Disappointed in the Wild lately, but the Blackhawks are still a work in progress. You got to take Minnesota. I don't like laying that.
They are the highest number on the board, it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, Chicago has all their guys back finally, but I still think Minnesota's in a different class.
Dallas, St. Louis, Kip.
The Blues are tricky at home. I picked them to end the lightning streak last week, and they got it done in overtime. But the Stars are a better team. The Blues are kind of garbage. I lean Blues, but I'll take the Stars because Blodgeck's going to win out here.
I'd take a shot with the big price on the Blues. I think it's probably a little bit closer than the line paints it.
Washington, Seattle.
It seems like the Capitals spend a lot of time on the West Coast. Hockey's weird. Other sports, you just go to the West Coast like once or twice. Hockey teams seem to go like east to west every week. The Kraken just won at home their last game. The Capitals are better. I'll take Washington.
Yeah, not a game I bet either, but I think Seattle's just has the most misleading record in the league. They suck yet somehow win all these games. So I'd have to be Washington or pass.
All right, the last game on the board, San Jose and Vancouver, and then I give up my Tony Curry impression duties.
Thank God, because I tuned out about 10 minutes ago. I didn't know we were going to go through the whole fucking league, but there you have it. I know someone's making some bets tonight. Go ahead.
I don't know. This is a toss-up. The Canucks disappoint me. I always expect them to start to get it together, but I'm not a believer in the Sharks either, so I'll take Vancouver.
The Canucks are the worst team in the league after trading Quinn Hughes. Now they got a bunch of guys hurt. Brock Besser. That being said, I don't feel like you can lose every game. They got to win it at some point. So I'll say Vancouver tonight. But if you bet against Vancouver every single game for the rest of the year, you're going to make money because I think they stand alone as the worst team in the NHL right now.
There's your hockey highlight, man. If you're into the NHL, we got you covered right here on K4Wins, K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. Check us out. Of course, we get Super Bowl going on here, the 9th rematch, by the way, of Super Bowl. The last time these two teams played each other back in Super Bowl 49 when the Pats got it done 28-24. Let's talk some hoops. Had some interesting stuff happen this past weekend. I was watching my Xavier Musketeers go down to St. John's. I bring that game up only because it was Rick Pitino's 900th career victory against my Xavier Musketeers. They had their ass down 16 in the second half. The Muskies did. The Muskies just don't. I don't know what this team cannot close out a game to save its life. But they end up losing that game 88-83. Congratulations to Rick Pitino. And, of course, Arizona continues to be undefeated. They get it done against BYU. And how about
by the skin of their teeth? They had the game. They had a 19-point lead the second half, and they had to block a shot basically at the buzzer to preserve that win. But it was a winner last night because I loved Arizona and over, and both those came to pass.
They got it done, man, and that's. I mean, I got a chance to play them when they played Alabama down here at the BJCC.
I was there too. Yeah,
Arizona's unbelievable. I mean, they're just unbelievable, and they're so fun to watch. They don't make mistakes. They don't turn the basket. I think they had one turnover in the second half of that game. They are just methodical engines, man. They just go down the floor, and they're just a lot of fun to watch. And then, of course, we mentioned Duke blowing out Louisville by 31, which was just kind of crazy. And, of course, everyone always talks, don't forget about the Duke Blue Devils. We're still here. I got a friend of mine who's a huge North Carolina fan, too, and he's been suffering some pains throughout the season. But, Kai, I know you're big time into the college hoops, and there's hundreds of games that go on every single night. Anything interesting popping out to you today?
Yeah, we got some good games. I got some Tony Curry useless stats I'll give you in a minute also. But Michigan State, Rutgers, top 25 matchup, Nebraska.
Undefeated and a 10.5-point underdog. That's interesting. Number 5, by the way.
I'm going to go out on them. They're not going to be undefeated after tonight.
No, I don't think
I'll take the 10.5.
I don't know that I would bet. I would give or take the 10.5. Michigan, number 11 tempo team in the country, according to Ken Palm, with the number 2 defense. I just really like that. But hey, Nebraska, their tempo is 205 with the number 11 ranked defense with adjusted rating, so it's not too shabby. Virginia and Notre Dame tonight. Alabama at home, which is very interesting. They got another a temporary restraining order against the NCAA, so their professional player gets to play again tonight. Maybe he can get 4 rebounds tonight. Who knows? I did think Alabama made fools of themselves the way their crowd went crazy when he came into the game. Every time
really? I mean, golly. Yeah.
Conquering hero, Buddy Yako.
And Nate Oates is starting to wear me out a little bit. I'm just going to say it right here. He's starting to wear my ass out. I know he's a good coach, but God, he's turned into a big baby. I'm going to be behind my guys all the way, and as long as they're doing the right thing, I'm going to be – shut up. Go coach your team. For God's sakes, you got a guy that's played 17 years outside the league. Go ahead.
The only issue, Tony, is you're a third line right wing beer league team.
Damn straight.
And, I an enforcer. I'm not fighting anybody. I think he's got me pegged wrong.
Yeah.
You're looking at some of these games, and it is. I mean, I don't care who you are, and I would say the same thing as the guy who came to Tennessee. Shouldn't be playing. He left college to go and try to become a pro. He gave up his eligibility, in my opinion. That's the only deal with it. I know you got people coming over from Europe and all these different things. That's my only issue.
And that's what we do these days. Whenever something doesn't go away, what do? You fucking sue somebody. I mean, the minute something happens, we're the most litigious. I'm going to tell all my kids to become lawyers because we're going to need every one of them.
There are 16 teams in the SEC. I'm going to go Keefer SEC basketball here. We're not going to talk about the others, just the SEC. 16 teams in the SEC. None of them have a losing record overall. The closest is Mississippi State at 10-10, okay? How many SEC teams have a winning record on the road? Any game played, doesn't have to be conference. How many?
Can't be more than 2.
Tony?
I'm going to say none. I'm going to say none of them do.
Chase?
I was going to guess 1.
4. Texas A&M is 3-2 away. Georgia is 3-2. Alabama is 3-1, and mighty and powerful new kid on the block in all sports and thinking they dominate college football now. Vanderbilt is 5-2.
That was I thought it was going to be just Vanderbilt, but I forgot about some of the others.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy, man.
But to know that there's 16 teams in the SEC, now we're just getting into conference play. Keep that in mind. And Texas A&M is number 1 in the SEC with buckyball at this point. But that none of the teams in the SEC have a losing record. Overall, no other conference in the country can say that.
That's crazy. By the way, some breaking news this morning. It's really not breaking because it's been out for about an hour now, but looks like Darian Mensah is going to be heading to the Miami Hurricanes. They worked out their deal with Duke. If you got a chance to go listen to Keefer and Kurre, do so, man. We had a great show yesterday. We went about a half an hour, 45 minutes of talking about the transfers and where everyone's going. And we talked about the Damon Williams situation with Washington. We talked about the kid at Georgia who's also suing the team. And $8 million Darian Mensah signed during the offseason last year, a 2-year, $8 million deal. And, of course, I didn't realize this, but if you're playing in the national championship game in college football, you get an additional 8 days on the portal window because obviously you're playing in a national championship game. So the kids from Miami and the kids from Indiana got an extra 8 days to say whether they wanted to go play somewhere else. And that should tell you a lot too, because obviously Miami's got their own QB situations going on as well. So I wanted to get your thoughts on again, our litigious situation. Kip, I thought you had some really enlightening things to talk about yesterday. When it all comes down to it, if we have to go back to court for it, I thought we were backlogged, by the way, in courts. I've been going through a divorce for 7 years because I can't get to see a judge, and these kids have a problem with their eligibility, and somehow they're getting a judge like at 3:00 in the morning saying, "You're good to go. Go ahead. We'll see you next Tuesday." Hell, I can't even close my deal out 7 years ago. Anyway, that must be a different type of litigious society they live in. When you're in sports and you're talking millions of dollars, they can get that thing to flip around pretty quick. But what's your thoughts on that? And are we going to see more of this? If you sign a deal, you should stick with it, right?
Well, I mean, sign a deal. Deal, the word is contract. You're signing an agreement. I'm going to do this and you're going to do this for me. And you just can't declare, just like the kid who left Georgia for Missouri, that, well, it's, his lawyer said, well, it's not binding. What the hell are you signing it for then if it's not binding? That makes no sense. It's a contract. And that's the solution, geniuses in the college football world. You need to have an enforceable, binding contractual agreement. That's why NFL players can't get fed up if somebody looks at them cross-eyed and go and play for another team the next game. That's what keeps the sanity in place, in college football for some reason hasn't gotten that memo. The most compelling one right now in all of this, which is going to be litigious, of course. And, that's one thing I wish this show on who to bet on. That's an absolute lock every encounter, because attorneys are going to win every time because they're getting paid no matter what. Ask the NCAA lawyers who took the whole issue of players being compensated all the way to the Supreme Court and lost 9-0, which is unprecedented, biggest blowout of all time. Every Supreme Court decision is almost a pick'em or a slight favorite for the conservatives. But on the other hand, the Stabo and Pete Golding deal is absolutely unbelievable. If you read Stuart Mandel's timeline in The Athletic this week of exactly how this went down, Pete Golding violated every rule, every procedure. He's texting the new kid, Zafredi or whatever his name is, who had just enrolled at Clemson, was actually in his first class as a Clemson student. He's getting texts from Ole Miss, from Pete Golding to the rescue, offering him extra $1 million and asking him how much his buyout is at Clemson. He'd been there one day. It's the worst case of tampering in sports history. And Pete Golding, even the general manager of Ole Miss football, when confronted with this, said he told Clemson's athletic director, I don't have anything to do with this. I don't want anything to do with this. It's just Pete Golding being Pete Golding. Good grief.
Yeah, that's a crazy ass story, and obviously it's the wild, wild west right now. The thing that you and I discussed too, Darian Mensah getting a degree at Duke, pretty good stuff. I mean, that's something you're going to put a double frame around, right? I mean, that's not something you're going to go to Hobby Lobby and get a frame for. You're going to put a nice frame around that piece of paper, and you're going to hang that.
Yeah, you got a degree from Duke. You're set.
And he's making $8 million in 2 years. I'm assuming it makes an ass of you and me that he's getting $4 million each year, unless he got the $8 million front loaded and he's not making anything next year. Why would you want to leave Duke and go to Miami? I don't get it. And obviously, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He had the top QBR. He took Duke to an ACC championship game. That whole thing is just it does not make sense to me. I'm glad they figured it out outside a courtroom, but he's gone. He's no longer at Duke, and I guess. Listen, it used to be hubcaps. Remember we used to talk about pizza money. We talked about you couldn't put cream cheese. Now this is true. You could give a kid a biscuit, but you couldn't put cream cheese on it. That was against the rules. That's a real rule. That's how ridiculous, that's how stupid it was. Now we got guys calling kids in class saying a buyout. What the hell, a buyout? We have buyouts now in college football. I mean, it's crazy. The thing is money's here. All the toothpaste is out of the tube. It ain't going back in. The fat chick is in the tight pants. She's not coming out. And it is what it is. But, man, it's fun to talk about. But you're waving millions of dollars in front of these 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids. And, I mean, they're starstruck, man. And, I mean, I can't blame them. I cannot blame them. Particularly if you got an old man from an inner city school that says, hey, I think you should go and knock it out and go try to get an extra $1 million out of this deal. I mean, we had Shedeur Sanders driving around in a $300,000 Mercedes his last year of college. I mean, wow, it's crazy.
Hey, all I know is the best comment made during this show, in my opinion, and the truest and most accurate, was made by Joey just then about the Keefer rant epic.
All right,
people don't understand when we're doing this that when Kip gets on his rants, I do think that's part of the best parts of the show is when he has something that he is passionate about. I love the Keefer rants.
Mm-hmm. They're there. You get them every Tuesday and Friday. We do the show 10 o'clock.
You should hang out with me more often because I unleash about 15 of them a day. A lot of times to an audience of one myself.
I did notice the one Saturday as well on the starting lineup you had.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Same subject. I mean, the leadership in college football is completely void. I don't know where Sankey the Yankee is with his buddy Tony Petitti, but what a complete disaster the whole thing is, and it's so unfortunate. Just make some rules, blow up the NCAA, which is an archaic, extinct creature, and get on with the show.
Case is rubbing his head. It's time to go. Coastal Sports. I feel you, brother.
Real quickly, though, I think we missed it, and we discussed this. Joe Brady is going to be the Bills coach.
Joe Brady. Okay.
Interesting.
The Raiders, we'll see if they think they have Clint Kubiak. It might linger a little bit.
I kind of like that matchup. I kind of think Brady may do something there with Josh. They kind of get the same vibe together. They're both badasses. They both like to jump into the line. They don't slide. So that may be something good. Yeah, Joe's not a slider. We got some great stuff going on. Of course, the Super Bowl coming up February 8th. All kinds of great. Yes, we'll go through it. It's got to be the only show, seriously, that I take pride in this. That we'll actually break down the NHL. We're about making money. We're about, gambling and everything. You got Keefer up there that does this for a living. So we're all over it. So wherever there's dollars to be made, K4Wins is all over it. K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. We're back again on Friday morning, 10 o'clock Central Time right here. Special thanks to the Coastal Sports Digital Network for helping us out. Duncan Dad doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. And, of course, to Angel and his entire crew. And, of course, on Tony Curry Radio. Make sure you subscribe to the Tony Curry Radio app. It's free, and you can listen to the show. It's live on Tony Curry Radio, not to mention, of course, their YouTube channel, which is on there as well. So we'll do it again coming up on Friday. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you. We'll talk later this week.
All right.
Thank you, man.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.